Hello, I'm Thomas Haire, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-minute live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world speaking about the hottest topics in the industry are scheduled twice monthly, and actually today's our one-year anniversary of Take 20. We actually launched Take 20 1 year ago. Tomorrow, August 5th, 2020 was our first episode, so this is a big day for us. We'll move into season 2 next episode, and then the end of August. So, thank you for your support. Before we get to today's conversation, quick housekeeping note: we'll be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab in your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them, and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. Today's episode, ShoppableTV Steps into the Spotlight, began with a direct link from our members of our Brand Response Council to the PDMI team. We're excited to welcome NBCUniversal's Evan Moore, the company's Vice President of Commerce Partnerships, a leader in NBCU's ShoppableTV venture. We're excited to have Evan here today to discuss the challenges and opportunities for performance marketers looking to get into this burgeoning direct-to-consumer sales space and more. Evan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely great to have you. Folks, we couldn't get Evan's camera to pop up, so he's joining us audio only, but that means I just have to look cool the entire time that he's talking, so good for me. Let's get right to it here. First question for you, Evan. I've been covering or part of this industry for 20 years, and I know that ShoppableTV, or some version thereof, has kind of been touted under different terminologies for a couple of decades now. What do you think is different this time, and what's NBCU doing to seize that opportunity?
Sure, that's a fantastic question. I've followed the history of ShoppableTV myself quite a bit, and it stretches all the way back, some almost 50 years back into the 1970s when they first launched the Cube system across the country. It's something that's always been a dream of both media companies, even consumers, of wanting to be able to shop directly from the shows that they watch, to bring the things into their home that they see on the people and in the stories that they love. And what we're experiencing right now that I think is different in the past is kind of a convergence moment of technologies and business models and consumer behavior, right? So we have now broadband internet in the majority of US homes, and all of our television sets, for the most part, are internet connected devices, right? So they're actually watching content on large screens that are interactive in nature. And consumers are actually becoming more attuned to actually interacting with the content that they see any given day. It started on our computers, and then in our mobile phones, on the websites or the social platforms that we interact with there. But now that same behavior is actually moving on to the TV as well. It's as simple as kind of the standard behavior now. If you're watching a television show on a streaming platform and you want to find out which actors are in the scene, that you can pause that scene and use a remote and find out more information about what's going on behind there. And that seems like a small shift, but it's actually really a paradigm shift in how we look at television. Television is now predominantly an interactive medium. At the same time, we have payment platforms that make it so that users have stored payment methods that are easily accessible via digital wallets like PayPal, which has been around for a long time. But every consumer now has an active credit card method that's stored on a payment wallet that they can access at any time. And so it makes the actual experience of buying a product from a television much more seamless and pleasurable than it used to be, right? Before, the experience would be you'd see something on TV, you'd have to go Google or do an internet search to find that item, click on a link, land on an e-commerce site, maybe it's in stock, etc. And you'd have to do all of that while missing the show that you might have been watching or remembering to do it afterwards. And now it really is as simple as taking out your phone, pointing at the screen, scanning a code, and then being able to shop right there using just a couple of clicks if you've got a stored payment method. And then lastly, and this is, I think, one of the more important things that's kind of shifted in the last years, that's really structurally been a constraint of shoppable television, is that production timelines for TV shows traditionally don't align well with the retail timelines of what sorts of products a retailer is going to keep in stock, or the seasonality of different fashion. You might be creating a show that isn't going to air for another 6 months, right? But a retailer is deciding which products they want to have in stock at their store in a matter of a couple months ahead of a season. So it's been difficult to have those two things actually aligned so that when you're watching a show, you can actually point the user to a retailer that has that product in stock. And now two things are kind of happening, right? Like the actual production timelines of a lot of shows are a lot tighter. Whether it's a reality competition show, whether it's live sports, or even many narrative television shows are just created on a much smaller time frame. And retailers are much more interested in finding incremental sales channels and new ways to reach their consumers through storytelling. And so those things are all kind of aligning to make shoppable TV possible and actually impactful in a way that was never true before. And NBCU is really at the forefront of trying to lean into that. We've created an open set of tools that let us experiment in a lot of different ways in terms of how we can actually drive commerce from the content experiences we created. And we're at this phase now of really understanding what those tools are and thinking about, okay, what should that change about the type of programming that we create? And not just, we don't just look at layering commerce on top of our existing content, but what sort of new content series can we come up with, new content formats that actually take into account that instant commerce can be a part of the actual entertainment experience itself.
Right. That's very interesting and a great breakdown of the kind of the situation at hand in the market, especially. And then, I think the bulk of the initial answer is from a consumer perspective. What about marketers? Are there three things marketers should know right now as they consider testing shoppable opportunities?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the things that they should consider is that authenticity is key, right? Finding a way to appeal to a consumer in an organic way through storytelling is going to be so much more impactful than trying to shoehorn in a commerce experience or and drive a product integration or brand integration into something that doesn't make sense. Because more and more consumers can smell BS, right? And they are inundated with so many options about where they can turn to be inspired, right? And so you're really looking to have strong alignment between your brand and then the actual IP that you're integrating with, and really working together and being creative and collaborators with those teams to actually create an organic integration that's going to appeal to the audience in a way that is aligned with the actual content itself. I would also say that we're in an experimentation phase, right? So I would say to marketers, be open to trying new things. Be willing to be collaborative and creative about the way that this comes to life, and look at this as a learning experience to kind of pivot and adapt to for the next time we try this out. This is a new behavior that is really being learned across the country in the U.S. And there's some examples to follow in terms of some more mature behavior going on in markets like China and South Korea, but there's nothing saying that those same behaviors are going to exactly translate to a U.S. Market and U.S. audience. I think we're a different country, we're a different set of consumers. Our media is different. The demographics are different, and so I expect that what's going to be successful in the United States could be wholly or at least very markedly different than what's succeeded in other countries.
Right. I'm actually, since you mentioned, I'm going to jump ahead to a question that we discussed yesterday when we were kind of kicking around ideas for this. South Korea and China, live stream shopping has become a big thing there, and it's becoming a hot topic here in the U.S. market. When do you see the opportunity gaining legs here, and what should marketers keep an eye on in the space?
Yeah, I think that in the very next 6 to 12 months, we're going to be seeing live stream shopping happening in the US in a big way. And I think it's going to take a lot of different forms. As I was saying, there's been a lot of success around the model in China and South Korea, but that's largely been through apps like Pinduoduo or WeChat that are very much these apps that compromise every part of the internet all in one experience. And that's not a thing that necessarily exists in the same way over here at the US. We really do have much more of a portfolio of services that consumers are interacting with on a daily basis, and they're used to experiencing content on many different surfaces than I think the market in South Korea or China is acclimated to. And so I expect to see a lot more experimentation and different kind of flavors of live stream shopping here in the U.S. But I do think it's going to find its sea legs very quickly. And there's going to be a great opportunity for brands to appeal to audiences through premium content in a way that is much more earned media necessarily than product integration, right? And that's really a new type of shoppable entertainment that doesn't fall into the same camp as the home shopping networks that we've had for many years, but instead is actual shoppable entertainment for entertainment's sake. That consumers are excited to tune into, that is hosted by talent that they have a real affinity with, and that is entertaining whether or not you actually choose to buy the item that's being talked about. So I'm really excited to see not only what happens in the market, but what we do over here at NBCU around live stream shopping. And it's interesting too, because I think that live stream shopping today has been thought of something that happens either on your computer or on your mobile device. But I'll just tease that I don't think there's any reason that can't happen on a television either, right? And in fact, there's even more room to do interesting things on a screen that's much larger like that than you can on a mobile device or a computer.
Right. I mean, the screens are becoming so interchangeable. It's just, what size are they? But the usage is incredibly interchangeable. I was actually listening to a podcast about journalism earlier today, and talking about it used to be a journalist with their stories was competing against other journalists and other news outlets. Now you're competing against a smartphone, you're competing against an Xbox. You got to try to find a way to get that notice. And it's the same thing here. Whether I'm holding the smartphone or in front of a 60-inch TV, I could be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's super true. And I think the same thing applies when you think about shoppable TV, right? Television isn't only happening on televisions now, right? Television is happening on computer monitors, on mobile phones, through social platforms, through video platforms. And what we do here with my team at Commerce Partnerships is we attempt to create an open platform that lets us drive seamless commerce wherever our content exists, regardless of if it's on our own streaming platform or if it's our content presented on some other social platform or video platform.
Right. What do you think is the best testing ground right now for marketers who are interested in trying out the performance of Shoppable?
Sure. So one, NBCUniversal is your number one partner to talk to. I think we're doing a lot of really exciting things in the space. The number that we always like to throw around too is that in any given 4 weeks, we reach 93% of US homes, right? So any brand, we can find an audience that is relevant to be telling your story. And my team here over at Commerce Partnerships works across the entire portfolio, working directly with our marketing teams, but also our content teams to develop, shoppable campaigns, but also shoppable entertainment programs. And if we form a relationship with a brand, it gives us the opportunity to engage directly with them, to understand their goals, and to find an opportunity that really fits for them. And I would also say we're not agnostic in terms of the platform that's going to happen. And so we're willing to create content that extends beyond the four walls of NBCUniversal and reaches out to platforms like Facebook and Instagram, where we're actually one of the first big media publishers that has the ability to actually do shoppable content formats on that platform. So just in the last week or so, we launched our first pieces of content on Instagram, where you're actually able to shop directly in the Instagram app through content that's published by NBCU brands.
That's great. Vertical markets that are currently having success, or do you think are primed for success in this space? What are they?
Yeah, I mean, they're your typical markets that align really well with a general shoppable content strategy, and then also that are doing very well around like influencer strategies as well. So apparel and accessories, home goods, beauty, even into kids or technology. Those are all kind of verticals where you're looking for a curatorial angle to make a choice. You're looking for a lifestyle to aspire to. And demonstration, actually having something demonstrable, is extremely valuable to the purchase experience, right? To see how a cosmetic is used, or a skin treatment can actually change the look of somebody's skin, or to see how an actual outfit comes together. Those are all things that work really well within that format. And live stream is particularly good at then giving the consumer the ability to ask questions, right, and inform the actual content experience itself so that they can, get the sort of information that would be really tough and take a lot of cycles to get if they were just ordering the product, having it shipped to their home, and then trying it on themselves or using it themselves and deciding whether to keep it.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. The home goods during the pandemic obviously went crazy everywhere. So it's not surprising to hear that they're also finding a good niche here as well. So
I'm still waiting on an outdoor couch, frankly. Yeah, it's been weeks.
Well, my favorite purchase I made over the last year is my 40-inch TV that I move indoor to outdoor with Roku on it, that I can hang out and by the fire pit on summer nights to watch TV and maybe even shop.
There you go. That's a smart purchase.
Yeah. So last question I've got for you, and then we got a couple that have come in from the audience as well. And folks, if you want to ask one, there's still some time. Where do you see shoppable TV opportunities headed in, say, the next 12 to 18 months? And what do you think is, what drives that vision for you there at NBCU?
Yeah, I think the exciting thing that's coming up in that time frame is I see this as kind of two phases. The first phase of this technology coming into our ecosystem has been kind of the thought process of, okay, how do we alter the existing content that we have to add a layer of commerce on top of it, right? How do we, add a new segment into this lifestyle news show, or how do we, drive shopping from a product that happens to be featured in a scene of a narrative show or a reality competition show? And there's some value to that, and I think we'll be continuing to experiment there and building, some really impactful commerce opportunities there. But the second phase that's coming up now is what I'm really excited about, which is we're actually working with internal teams here, and they're coming up with wholly new content formats that look at the ability to drive commerce as another tool in the tool set alongside your cast or your set or the music, right? And or the actual format of the show itself. So one example I'll call out is we have a new reality competition show that's launching on the USA Network in October called America's Big Deal, where it's a completely shoppable show featuring entrepreneurs as contestants who are pitching their products live to the audience. And the audience can purchase those products in real time using the one platform commerce set of capabilities. And their purchases are actually votes for those contestants to move forward in the competition, right? So we're really putting our money where our mouth is in terms of the technology and the experience here, because it's actually deeply ingrained into the very format of the show and whether or not the contestants move on and eventually win a prize, the prize of which, by the way, is a purchase order from national retailers to have their products featured in their stores. So it's those sorts of super exciting, never been done sorts of things that I think are going to start coming to market later this year and in a big way next year, as our world-class creative teams here are all of a sudden given a new paintbrush to paint with and come up with some really amazing things.
That's great. I mean, that actually kind of lends itself to one of the questions that came in, particularly with that USA Network show, because I'm thinking to myself, well, people are buying right there. Who's handling all this back end on this? So one of the questions that came in is from a back end perspective: who manages or is responsible for fulfillment, merchant processing, customer service of all these goods being offered?
That's a great question, and I love to get into the weeds and nerd out on this a bit. So we've built a platform called NBCUniversal Checkout that's actually an embeddable universal shopping cart that lets us inject commerce into any content experience, regardless of where that content is appearing. And with that platform, we are capturing the payment from the consumer. So we're the merchant of record, which is a term of art there. But then what's happening is we're taking that order and sending it directly into the e-commerce platforms of our partner retailers through an API connection via the platform that we've built. So the order is placed within our content, but then it actually arrives directly into the e-commerce platform of our retail partners. They're able to then receive that order and fulfill direct to the consumer. We do support a customer service team that handles servicing the first 30 days of the order, including any sort of customer service issues, shipment tracking, or any returns that might happen within that period. But really what we're looking to do here is not just to drive order acquisition for our partners, but actual customer acquisition. So there is the opportunity for them to also capture a new customer through this, which they can then continue to market to and build a lifetime relationship with after that initial purchase has happened. But just to be clear here, NBCUniversal is not getting in the retail business. What we've done here is created an incremental retail channel that allows our partners to drive customer acquisition through storytelling.
Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. Very interesting. Structurally, I think this is obviously a structural question and a little bit more in the weeds, perhaps. Is shoppable TV made possible because of the device or hardware that the content's being viewed on, or the platform that it's being viewed on, or is it a combination of those things?
Yeah, so it's a combination of those things. Today, the biggest format that we use for shoppable TV is our shoppable TV code, which is an actual QR code that we overlay over the top of either programming or commercial time to drive a consumer from watching something on TV into a transaction experience on their second screen on their mobile device. And that's incredibly effective. It's actually the most effective interactive television unit I've seen in terms of the response rates. We often see response rates that are above 1% of the audience that are scanning that code. If you compare that to interactive television commercial units that are in the market today, the average of those is usually around 0.4%, right? So QR code, I think a lot of which has been fueled by the pandemic, is something that has widespread use, that consumers understand, and that drives really substantial response rates. However, we are actually rolling out interactive capabilities directly on the screen within our platforms as well, right? So on Peacock, we're looking at the ability to drive shopping directly from our content using your remote. And even down the line, we'd really love to explore, can we actually drive that purchase right there on that screen? But that's definitely not something that we've cracked the nut on, but that's something that's off in the future for sure. And then on other platforms, as I referenced earlier, like Facebook and Instagram, we're partnering with those platforms and actually enabling the purchase to happen in their apps, even though that order is continuing to come through our system and be routed to our retail partners so they can fulfill direct to the consumer.
Right. So yeah, again, you kind of led into another question that just came in with some of that. And obviously, I know you don't want to guarantee success, but are you guys seeing like a general uptick in conversion with these types of shoppable ads? Is there some measure that you guys find is generally a good measure for the kind of uptick in conversion you're driving?
Yeah, so what we're out in market with is our average conversion rate from shoppable TV executions is about 2.6%. Which in general, that's across a lot of different categories or verticals in the space, and conversion rates can vary by price point and vertical for sure. But that's a healthy conversion rate to be driving, especially on a first-time interaction between that consumer and a brand, right? To really be driving user from the first time, coming from seeing it in one of our shows into a transactional experience and be seeing that sort of a conversion rate is an incredibly high sign of shopping intent that we're actually driving. We're really inspiring consumers to want to bring those products into their homes. Similarly, through our shoppable content, we're seeing amazing conversion rates. I've been working in kind of the space of shoppable content. Previous to here, I was the head of product over at Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's lifestyle e-commerce brand that's been creating shoppable content experiences for years. And we're doing conversion rates that are far above what I've experienced at my past companies, and have really impressed me in terms of the connection that our audience has with our content and the conversion we're able to drive as a result. And we're only seeing that increase as we optimize the experience. Really excited to see what sort of conversion rates we're able to drive from the content that we publish on Facebook or Instagram, but there isn't anything I can quite share there. And then even more excited to see what we're able to do on our own streaming platforms in the future, like what we're building on Peacock.
Yep, makes sense. Last question from the audience, the last one we have time for, of course, is the rate question. Which networks are testing shoppable TV on NBCU, and do you anticipate media rates to be more in line with general, DR, or somewhere in between?
Great question. So shoppable TV is looked at as a premium offering, right? So it's definitely largely, it involves branded content executions that we're doing, or actual integrations into programming. And even beyond that, there's some extra production services that we put into a shoppable TV unit itself. We have the ability to do shoppable TV across almost every part of the portfolio, especially all of our owned inventory on our own platforms. And we have formats that extend into our content on other platforms, like Hulu as well. So we've got broad capabilities to drive shoppable TV. We can get you in front of any audience across the portfolio, and we do really put a lot of effort into making it a premium experience that has above average results for our partners.
That's great. That's great. Well, I think we've covered a lot here in these 25 minutes or so. We thank you so much, Evan, for joining us today. Really appreciate the insight, and I look forward to hopefully speaking to you again down the line and having you take part in some more PDMI events. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate it, and go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Your next opportunity to attend a live online Take 20 episode is Wednesday, August 18th, as members of the Brand Response Council gather to introduce our Back to series, looking at different areas of the business affected by the country's ongoing emergence from the strictures of the pandemic. Please visit thepdmi.com /take-20 to check out the upcoming schedule and register to attend today. In addition, planning continues for the PDMI's first in-person event in 2 years, PDMI West at Hard Rock Hotel San Diego on October 4th through 6th. Badges are selling briskly and hotel rooms are booking now, about 75% sold out on our room block, so don't miss out. Visit thepdmi.com /PDMI-West today for more information and to get registered. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the PDMI's Take 20. On behalf of everyone here, enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your work week. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.